Richard E. Byrd, first to blaze an air route to the North Pole, prepares for a similar flight over the bottom of the Earth.
For nearly 8 decades, the frozen silence surrounding Admiral Richard E. Byrd's Antarctic expeditions remained buried beneath layers of military secrecy, speculation, and fear. Historians argued over missing records. Conspiracy theorists filled libraries with impossible claims. Governments dismissed every rumor as fantasy. But according to one aging sailor who claimed to have stood beside Byrd himself, the truth was far stranger than fiction, and far more dangerous. Before his death, the last surviving member of a forgotten Antarctic support unit finally decided to speak. His voice was weak, his memories fractured by time, but one thing remained painfully clear in his mind: something happened beneath the Antarctic ice during those missions, something powerful enough to terrify experienced Navy men and force the United States government into decades of silence. What he revealed was not simply a story about exploration. It was a story about secrecy, fear, and discoveries that were never meant to become public. Admiral Richard Evelyn Byrd Jr. was already a living legend long before the rumors began. Born in Virginia in 1888, Byrd rose through the ranks of the United States Navy during an era when aviation itself still felt miraculous. He became famous for daring flights across the Arctic and Antarctic regions, earning global admiration for venturing where few men were willing to go. Newspapers treated him like a national hero. Crowds lined city streets during his ticker tape parades. To the American public, Byrd represented courage, intelligence, and the unstoppable spirit of discovery. But behind the public image, there was another side to Byrd's expeditions that rarely appeared in newspapers. His missions grew increasingly secretive as the years passed. Officially, the voyages focused on science, mapping, and meteorological research. Unofficially, whispers spread through naval circles that strange discoveries were being made in the polar regions, discoveries involving unusual magnetic disturbances, unexplained geological formations, and areas that seemed to defy the natural laws scientists thought they understood. The sailor who would later break his silence claimed he first met Byrd in 1939 at a naval recruitment facility in Norfolk, Virginia. He was only 19 years old at the time, eager to serve and fascinated by stories of exploration. He expected routine questions about navigation, discipline, and technical skills. Instead, Byrd reportedly asked him something unexpected. "Can you keep a secret?" The young recruit later said the question unsettled him. Byrd's tone carried none of the excitement normally associated with exploration. It sounded more like a warning. The admiral reportedly explained that Antarctica was unlike any other place on Earth. Men who traveled there sometimes saw things they could not explain. Some returned changed. Others never returned at all. Still, the recruit accepted the assignment. At first, Antarctica appeared exactly as expected, an endless wasteland of snow, violent winds, and brutal cold. But after several weeks, strange incidents began piling up faster than anyone could comfortably dismiss them. Compasses malfunctioned unpredictably. Radio communications faded without warning. Pilots reported bizarre light phenomena moving across the sky at impossible speeds before disappearing into storms. Some crew members described hearing deep vibrations beneath the ice, almost like machinery humming somewhere underground. Most of these reports never entered official records. The sailor later recalled one particular reconnaissance mission that left a lasting impression on him. His unit had been transporting supplies across a remote stretch of ice when they discovered a massive fissure cutting through the frozen landscape. Warm air poured upward from the crack despite temperatures far below zero. The heat was so strong that nearby ice had partially melted into smooth geometric patterns unlike anything naturally formed. One of the officers reportedly dropped a flare into the opening. They never heard it hit the bottom. The men joked nervously about volcanic activity, but according to the survivor, nobody truly believed that explanation. The vibrations beneath their feet felt too steady, too mechanical. Even stranger, their radios began producing bursts of static mixed with sounds resembling distant voices. The signals vanished the moment they retreated from the fissure. When the incident was reported to command, Byrd himself allegedly ordered the area sealed off from further approach. That was the first time the sailor realized the admiral already knew more than he was willing to admit. By the mid-1940s, global tensions had transformed Antarctica from a scientific curiosity into a strategic obsession. World powers suspected enormous reserves of untapped minerals and resources existed beneath the ice. Military planners also understood the continent's importance for long-range aviation and naval operations. Whoever controlled Antarctica could potentially control future trade routes and military positioning across the southern hemisphere. Then came Operation High Jump. Officially launched in 1946, Operation High Jump remains one of the largest Antarctic expeditions ever conducted by the United States Navy. Publicly, the mission was described as a training exercise designed to test equipment and personnel in extreme cold conditions. But the scale of the operation raised immediate questions. The fleet included aircraft carriers, destroyers, submarines, dozens of aircraft, and nearly 5,000 military personnel. Tanks and heavy weapons accompanied the expedition. To many observers, it looked less like a research mission and more like a military invasion force. The sailor later claimed the atmosphere aboard the ships felt unusually tense from the beginning. Officers spoke in guarded whispers. Certain maps were restricted even to experienced crew members. Flights departed without appearing on official schedules. Entire sections of operational logs disappeared after being reviewed by senior command staff. Rumors spread quickly among the men. Some believed the Navy was searching for hidden Nazi facilities rumored to exist in Antarctica after World War II. Others thought Byrd had discovered rare mineral deposits during earlier expeditions. But according to the survivor, a smaller group quietly feared something else entirely, something unknown beneath the ice itself. Several weeks into the operation, the sailors' unit reportedly received emergency orders to assist a survey team near a mountainous region deep inland. Weather conditions were clear, but communication with the team had abruptly ceased. When the rescue party arrived, they found abandoned equipment scattered across the snow with no sign of the missing men. There were no footprints leading away from the camp. No evidence of avalanche or crevasse collapse. Just silence. The survivor later described the scene as wrong. He said the snow around the camp appeared strangely melted in circular patterns despite freezing temperatures. Metal equipment felt unusually warm to the touch. One radio operator insisted he heard voices transmitting on military frequencies moments before the signal disappeared completely. The missing team was never officially recovered. Public reports later blamed severe weather and terrain instability, but the sailor insisted those explanations were false. Conditions had been calm that day. Something else happened out there, and everyone involved knew it. Not long afterward, Operation High Jump ended suddenly, months earlier than planned. Official statements blamed harsh weather and equipment fatigue, but many veterans found the explanation suspicious. Antarctic summer. Conditions were still favorable, supplies remained sufficient, and the fleet possessed ample resources to continue operations. Yet the withdrawal orders came abruptly, and the entire expedition retreated north far sooner than expected. The survivor claimed Admiral Byrd looked deeply disturbed during those final days. One evening aboard ship, Byrd allegedly stopped him in a dim corridor and quietly said, "Some things should never be found." The sailor never forgot those words. Years later, rumors emerged surrounding a mysterious gap in Byrd's flight records during the expedition. According to scattered reports, Byrd disappeared from radio contact for several hours during a solo reconnaissance mission over the Antarctic interior. Official logs recorded the takeoff and landing but offered little explanation for the missing time in between. Then came the stories. Unverified diary pages began circulating decades later, claiming Byrd encountered lush valleys hidden beneath the ice, strange aircraft capable of impossible maneuvers, and structures unlike anything known to modern civilization. Historians question the authenticity of the documents, arguing there was no reliable evidence Byrd wrote them himself. Critics dismissed the material as elaborate fiction. The survivor never publicly confirmed those stories. But he did say Byrd returned from one flight visibly shaken and immediately ordered increased security around several restricted areas. According to the sailor, armed guards were stationed near storage compartments containing aerial photographs and geological samples. Crew members who asked questions were warned to remain silent. Then came an incident the survivor claimed haunted him for the rest of his life. A small detachment received orders to investigate another unusual formation discovered beneath a ridge of ice. Upon arrival, they found what appeared to be a perfectly smooth tunnel descending into darkness. The walls were neither pure ice nor natural rock. They felt polished, almost artificial. The team's instructions were simple: observe only. One officer ignored those orders. Attached to a safety line, he descended into the opening while the others monitored from above. Minutes passed in silence before the rope suddenly went slack. No response came through the communication line. The officer vanished completely. A second man volunteered to descend after him. Moments later, the safety rope jerked violently. The crew pulled him back up, but something about him had changed. According to the survivor, the man remained alive yet completely unresponsive. His eyes stayed open, staring blankly into nothing. He never spoke another word for the rest of his life. The mission was terminated immediately. Within days, the entrance reportedly vanished beneath controlled demolition charges placed by Navy engineers. No official record of the operation exists. After returning home, the sailor noticed something unsettling happening around everyone connected to the expedition. Reports disappeared from archives. Photographs vanished. Personnel records changed. Men who discussed strange incidents found themselves reassigned, pressured into silence, or quietly removed from sensitive positions. Even Byrd changed. During one press interview following the expedition, the admiral issued a curious warning about future threats capable of traveling from pole to pole at incredible speeds. Newspapers briefly published the statement before attention quickly faded. Afterward, Byrd avoided controversial remarks entirely, limiting public discussion to weather research and scientific cooperation. The survivor believed that silence was deliberate. In 1959, the Antarctic Treaty transformed the continent into a protected zone dedicated to peaceful scientific activity. Military operations and territorial claims became heavily restricted. Most people celebrated the agreement as a rare example of international cooperation during the Cold War. The sailor saw it differently. According to him, the treaty served another purpose: preventing anyone from digging too deeply into what earlier expeditions may have discovered. He often remarked that nations rarely cooperate so completely over territory believed to contain enormous strategic value. Yet somehow, Antarctica remained locked behind layers of regulation and secrecy for decades. To him, that silence meant something. As the years passed, nearly everyone connected to Byrd's expeditions died. Official documents remained classified or disappeared entirely. The strange stories faded into the world of conspiracy theories and late-night speculation. But the survivor never forgot. Near the end of his life, approaching 100 years old, he finally agreed to speak with a small historical research group. Frail and exhausted, he reportedly spent hours recounting memories he had buried for nearly 8 decades. He did not claim to know the full truth about Antarctica. He admitted some events still made no sense even to him. But he insisted the secrecy was real. "There are places under that ice people were never meant to reach," he allegedly said during the interview. "We thought we were explorers. We were really witnesses." When asked directly whether he believed something non-human existed beneath Antarctica, the old sailor reportedly paused for a long time before answering. "I don't know what it was," he whispered. "But I know the Navy was terrified of it." He died only months later. To this day, historians continue debating the truth behind Admiral Byrd's Antarctic expeditions. Many claims surrounding Operation High Jump remain unsupported by verified evidence. Several famous diary entries are widely considered questionable or fabricated. Skeptics argue the strange stories grew through decades of exaggeration and conspiracy culture. And yet, certain mysteries remain difficult to fully explain. Why was such overwhelming military force deployed for a supposedly scientific mission? Why did Operation High Jump end so abruptly? Why do gaps exist in portions of the expedition's records? And why did Byrd himself occasionally hint at dangers and discoveries he never fully described? Perhaps the truth is far less dramatic than the legends suggest. Or perhaps somewhere beneath miles of Antarctic ice, hidden beneath silence and secrecy, fragments of a story still remain waiting to be uncovered.